In this video, we'll be taking a look at a transform tool known as running total. The running total allows us to calculate a cumulative sum per record from an incoming dataset. So let's dive straight into some examples. To illustrate this, we will drag in an input tool onto the canvas and we'll connect it to our city populations dataset. In the preview window, you can see we have a Banda on the first row with a population of 192, Abbeville on the second row with 2,688, and so on. Now the order of the input matters, as a running total is performed row by row. Let's now drag a running total tool onto the canvas and connect the output of the input data tool to the input anchor of the running total tool. In the configuration window, we have two simple decisions to make. And to start with, we will look at the Create Running Total section, which is the second box. Here, we simply need to state which numeric field or fields we would like to calculate a running total on. Now, seeing as we only have one numeric column in our incoming dataset, this decision is made for us. However, if we had two or more numeric fields, we can decide which column or columns we would like running totals to be performed on. Once decided, we can run our workflow, and when we assess the result, you'll be able to see a cumulative sum of the population in a column which is prefixed with run.tot_, followed by the name of the column that you've chosen to perform the calculation on. So we start with 192 on the first row. Then when we add 2,688 to it, we get 2,880. We then add 4,521 to it, and we end up with 7,401, and so on. Now this cumulative calculation will happen all the way down to the very bottom of this dataset. This is because we have not grouped our calculation by any attribute. So let's see what the optional group by configuration allows us to do. If we were to select state from the top options list in the configuration window, i.e. if we were to group by state, what this will do is treat each running total separately for each different state instance. So Alabama will have its own running total, but when it gets to the next state in the list, the running total will start again. So let's run the workflow to see this in action. So on initial glance, we get the same output as the first workflow. However, notice that when we scroll to the next state, which is Alaska, the running total starts again at 326 for the city Adak, and then the cumulative sum is performed again. So grouping by fields allows us to select parts of the dataset for which we'd like to perform a running total on. Now, as mentioned earlier, and as you can probably tell, the ordering of the incoming dataset matters. If I were to copy and paste this workflow, add a sort tool in between the input data and the running total, and then sort city in descending order, when we rerun the workflow, we get a completely different result, despite the column being called the same. So always pay attention to the ordering of the dataset to ensure you're getting the expected result. A great use case for running totals is when you're working with date-time information and want to see how values accumulate over time, for example, the cumulative sales or costs over a specific time range.